for future listeners, I just wanted to mention that I'm going to have a nice conversation with Chris today. And Chris is very involved in the Wim Hof method for quite a long time as well. And he had some questions regarding details that I can share after visiting a summer retreat with Wim Hof, which, yes, when you're, there with actual author of the method, there's definitely more details you can find out. And before we get there, I don't know much about how Chris started this and when he did. So I would like to um, hear from Chris. When did you start practicing Wim Hof, and what actually was the reason for you to
Certainly. So I knew about William for some years. My experience, though, with him was more around his exploits with cold. I didn't actually know that that the breathing technique was actually, at least from my experience, actually a more important, a bigger part of kind of the whole experience and the benefits that you gain from the Wim Hof method. In January, a friend of mine who I was speaking with, and he said he had been doing it for about 3 months. He got the book, he got Wim's book, and he started it, and within 2 weeks, his resting heart rate was reduced by 12 beats. And I thought that was not only fascinating, but extremely beneficial, because I recognized the interplay between your heart rate and the level of calm and or anxiety that you have. And so I thought it would be worth a try to see if I have a similar experience, because it would be wonderful. I'm an athlete. I've been training in different types of training for decades, most recently in the weight room in the gym, which is historically my area. I have a kind of a unique experience in that I was instrumental in bringing the sport of strongman to the United States in 1997, 98. So it's been an intimate part of my life. But even with all of that training, my resting heart rate averaged at that time in January about 70 to 72, which is healthy, but thought it would be great to have it even lower. So I talked with him about it, and I didn't do any specific, at the time, I didn't do any specific research much on Wim Hof. I didn't buy the book. I still haven't. But he told me everything that he knew from all of his research and the challenges that he faced and what he learned during those 3 months prior to talking with me about it. And I started it, and I was surprised at how relatively easy it was for me to do the breath hold. I was able to do like 3.5 minutes basically right off the bat. And that was what he had gotten up to. That was his maximum that he got up to. And actually, when he doesn't feel well, he was only able to do like 2.5 minutes. So I started off like that, and almost to the day, within 2 weeks, my resting heart rate was about 58 to 60. And that's just...
When was it? When did you start? How long ago?
January.
Oh, okay. So this year.
Of this year, yeah.
Okay.
And I have a pulse oximeter that I wear for just out of interest when I'm doing the method, when I'm doing the breath holds, when I'm doing the breathing. And it is amazing how you can get your blood oxygen levels to 100%, which many doctors, many researchers will actually tell you is extremely difficult to do, but I'm able to do it on generally the second or third round of the breath hold.
Right.
And like I said, after 2 weeks, that was the biggest result. But almost immediately, the feeling of peace that you get listening to your heartbeat during the breath hold is something that was really beneficial to me. I don't have a lot of anxiety in general, but like all of us do have certain things that we're dealing with, certain levels of stress, issues, certain anxieties, certainly, right? That's just being an adult And it did have a tremendous impact on my ability to start the morning on a positive note. I 95% of the time I do it in bed when I wake up, because it's easier, because you want to do it, you don't want to do it on a full stomach, and I just get it out of the way. Lately, it's been more challenging time-wise because, and I'll explain this in a second, because I've gotten so good at the breath hold where I can hold my breath pretty easily for like 6 minutes, that it's a time thing. Like it takes like half an hour, and some days I just don't have that time. So I haven't been doing it every day recently, but for months I was doing it every morning. And then right after, they say you want to do it pretty quickly after, I was doing cold showers. And since I started in January, they were really cold. Now in August, it doesn't feel like much of anything. But I've been doing cold showers on and off for years, like for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure. I just kind of took to them because I found I felt better when I took them. And doing them in January or February, there were some days that were, I'll put it this way, like most of the time I would get in the shower and I would psych myself up to do this. Like, okay, like we're going to do this again. It's going to be good. You're going to feel great when you're done. But it wasn't easy because it was so cold, right? So I did that right after, because that helps take the oxygen that's in your blood and shuttle it into your organs. And cold showers for me just improve my mood like immediately, and for 2 to 3 hours afterwards.
Right.
And it's, I mean, who doesn't want that, right? I mean, so I kept doing it. I also really like, in the research that I did do subsequently, I really like how it does improve your immune system. I have a very strong one for genetically, I guess. I do a lot of supplementation. I do a lot of work. I haven't had a cold in 4 years. I never got COVID. But still, the fact that it does have a significant impact on your immune system, especially as we get older, and we're all doing that, is another one of the benefits that I find extremely valuable. And I also like the fact that, to be honest, that it's not very woo. I mean, what I mean is, like, some different techniques, some different, like some yoga methods, some different healers, practitioners, that they can be extremely, woo woo, like you're tapping into this amazing, yeah, you're tapping into this, like, this energy, but it's all very nondescript, and it's all very like I'm not against that, but I just like the fact that this is based in science, that he's done research in hospitals proving it's not just like I feel better, but there's science to prove that I am better. And I really like that. And I continue to do it. Let's see, what else is my thing. One thing that this is actually kind of interesting. So one thing that I haven't read about, I've never really seen any videos on, or anybody else do, but I've been doing, I wanted to see if there was a way of utilizing that time, which like I said, tends to be 25 to 35 minutes, to get other things done while I'm doing the method. And that obviously is generally challenging. Like, you can't really write a book while you're doing it. But I started incorporating stretching. So because of all the weight training I do, I can get tight. And I don't dislike stretching, but I find it very inconvenient. Like, it's just one more thing to do in the day type of thing, right? And especially my hips get really tight. So I started doing these 3 specific yoga stretches while doing the breath work.
Well,
and it's really cool.
I have a good news for you, because as I learned while I was there, within that week, there is no particular way of doing it, right or wrong. There is no a settled way. So experimenting is quite a good part of doing this method, which was a good news for me, because very much like you, I was thinking, how can I save time? Because And like you, I'm doing this for last 7 years already. But what attracted me to this method was actually the fact that, first of all, when I started to breathe like second or third time, I actually felt something not usual happening to me. And I could tell that I'm dealing here with something when higher than physical condition. I could feel the
Yeah.
energy kind of charged my whole body, and I was kind of wiggling as I was breathing, and my brain was not able to catch up what's going on. So that's why probably the experience was going on. But at one point, all these different amplitudes in my body came as a one vibration, and they went
Mhm.
on, and I started to feel like that energy lifting my body. So I definitely knew that there
Sure.
was something more than physical uh, thing happening. So
Sure.
I kind of always knew that there is something else around us, more than something we can touch
Absolutely.
or see. To me, it was a number one signal that this is it. I found that access. I actually found that access to this different dimension to the field of energy. That's how I actually really got very involved. And I
You
found
found
quite
you said you just said that you found that Wim Hof was the most potent way of accessing that. Is that what you said?
what way?
You said you just said you found that Wim Hof was kind of the easiest and most potent way of accessing
For me,
that
the
unseen. I
easiest
agree.
method was the easiest way, because when you do meditation, it's a great thing, meditation, but it's more kind of um, when you're not familiar with meditation and you're going through anxiety, let's say, there's no way at that moment you can calm down your brain. Well, not me anyway. I don't know,
I
maybe for someone,
completely agree with you.
right? So
I com-
when you breathe, this breathing helps you actually handle that situation. It calms you down, then you can meditate. So the way you want to do stretch, so I do stretch later because it's going to be too disturbing. I don't think, but it's my opinion. You can find out. Hopefully you'll go and you'll ask that question. But what I'm doing while I'm, let's say, I'm holding my breath for 5 minutes, what I'm gonna do that 5 minutes, right? Okay, I'm scanning my body, I'm checking what's going on. It's quite interesting. But at the same time, I just do that same meditation. I do some of my affirmations, I work with my mind and soul as I'm on hold of my breath. But then turns out that it shouldn't be that. I mean, if you're comfortable with 30 breath, and then you exhale, you hold your breath, and then you inhale and push your pineal glands. Perfect. I'm doing that 4 times. That's kind of a main kind of foundation of it. But it doesn't have to be exactly that way. What we were doing, we were experimenting. Let's say we would do 10 breaths, then we would take one full inhale, like as full as possible. Even after stopping, we will try to breathe one more time, like possibly like get your air as high as possible. And then just hold on that, not on exhale, but on inhale, and see what's going on with your body. Then let it go, then take another inhale, exhale, then again, wait until you have this urge to breathe, and then pineal gland. So I found quite unfair to Wim Hof method when people mostly talk about his superhuman abilities, which is true. The guy has so many records that, scientifically, doctors, they were saying there's no way, you're just abnormal human being at the beginning. No way human
right.
body can perform such a thing, right? And yes, he proved that this is result of the training, and he was able to prove it. And on the question, what you feel when scientifically it was actually proved, he said, I cried. So yes, he can perform superhuman abilities. But what he's saying quite often when you talk to him or during the interviews, you always mention it. He says that it aligns me with the spirit. It aligns me with myself, which is spirit inside of us and spirit around us. So it aligns you with the spirit, and that that gives you all these superhuman abilities, because unless you're aligned, there is no way you can perform certain things. So
I completely agree with you. I also find it um, the easiest method I've found so far to what I call get in touch with myself. So what I do, I don't, for whatever reason, like I don't do specific affirmations very regularly, but there's usually something that I'm thinking about, something on my mind, and like the day before, or whatever, and I just kind of like allow it to percolate in my mind during the breath hold and look at it as an outside observer objectively. And when I do that, I'm able to come to grips with it much easier, and it seems like less of an issue. In other words, the the mind has such an easy way of like overthinking things. Whereas like when I'm in that moment and connected with myself, thinking about things that have an impact, have been having an impact on me, I'm able to kind of look at them, kind of realize like everything else in life, they're not that big of a deal,
Yeah,
and do my best to kind of let them go. And
right.
so
Connected with the flow. That's what actually resolves all these issues.
yeah,
In fact, there was a guy, for some reason, if you ask directly, which I tried, we were divided in groups. It was 125 people in total summer retreat participating. And they divided us into groups of 10, 15 people, so everybody will get personal attention. And we had our coaches, amazing young men and women that were right there to answer any question, to help you when you need help, because everybody came to actually extend their limits. Because when you do, let's say we were there in 15 minutes ice bath, right? At home, no one will take that chance. I don't think anyone. And when we were discussing, everybody agreed like at home, no one would do it. Even you do it for 10 years, you don't go for 15 minutes in ice by yourself. Here, you have this support. You know you're backed up if anything happen. So people do it. And for whatever reason, I asked question. I said, so does it heal from so and so? And the answer was very, I didn't ask Whim, I asked the coaches. And then, well, you need to be careful. I guess it's like political thing. People don't want to announce stuff that then you will, you know, keep them in charge for whatever they say. But the truth is, like once I remember a few years ago, we were going to Oklahoma, and there was Mineral Spring Town. We saw it, and that Mineral Spring Town had a lot of mineral water that actually was back then in Soviet Union. I'm from Soviet Union. We had cities where would every summer people will go to heal their stomach, to heal their arthritis and stuff. And officially it was announced that this is healing arthritis, let's say. Here, when I ask, I'm seeing people in these bathtubs. I can smell the water. I smell the chemicals. And I'm asking, does it heal from arthritis? They're saying, well, we're not saying that, but people come to heal their arthritis. That's what they
yeah,
said, you know.
sure.
So I think for the same reason here, no one was announcing that it heals illnesses, let's say. But we had a guy, hopefully he promised to have an interview with me because I was curious a lot about it because his name is Angelo. So the guy was paralyzed, half of his body was paralyzed, and he was quite young. He was like 20 something. I didn't go into details. I will find out during the interview. So of course he's going to the doctors, he's taking all the pills, whatever they're suggesting. He's trying to, you know, get healed. He's too young. And the doctor is telling him that, well, sooner or later, like by 40, you will be in wheelchair. There's no other solution for you. So he started to watch what he's eating, organic, no meat. I don't know details again, but I know that he started with healthy food,
Diet,
with a diet.
right?
Then he learned about Wim Hof. He started to do breathing and cold water, of course, in combination. The guy was with us, 100% healthy man, and he was doing his own. Now he's doing his own workshop, his own retreats. That's why he promised to do it today, but then turns out he had another retreat, so he wasn't able to do Zoom meeting. So the truth is, those
He was
things.
walking. He was walking around,
He was absolutely healthy. He had no issue
walk,
walking.
walking around, no issues. Yeah.
Yes, if he would not say that he used to have that issue, that
You wouldn't know.
paralyzed leg and arm, I would never know. In my case, I don't
That's
find
great.
any other reason of what happened to me. I had thyroid issue that I found out by chance. I was in car accident, then I had MRI. They said, go check your thyroid. Turns out my thyroid has a lot of nodules, a lot, like it looks like a grape years ago, but it wasn't bothering me. The level of the hormone was normal. But that's why I was not touching, but I was checking once a year. At a certain point, it was growing so aggressively that something kind of whispered me to go, and actually on the left side, it was really bad, too big. You couldn't even see from outside. And that kind of made me some warning. It was red flag for me. Like, if I can see it here, then it goes back there and it's affecting something. I have to do
Sure.
something about it. But I didn't want to remove it because it works normal. I don't have to take even any kind of hormones.
Right.
So the surgeon, I went to different specialists. Someone was saying, just leave it. Someone was saying, oh, you have to remove. And the guy that I choose, because someone recommended that he's a really good surgeon, he said, I'm going to remove both your thyroids because it's growing so aggressively that sooner or later you have to remove both. So we're going to do it once. And I wasn't deep inside, I did not agree with that. I didn't want to do it. Something
Yeah.
he was against it, but I kind of agreed because, well, do whatever you think is right to do. Then it had to take 3 hours only, and then I had to go home. Then when I'm opening my eyes, when they do this surgery,
But
they have all
so,
this
so,
wired plugged to your
so you
nerve.
did it.
I did
You,
it, but listen to this detail. So
okay.
they have all these wires checking how your voice cord works, because the nerve that responsible for your voice going right behind the thyroid. So thyroid can damage during the surgery. They can damage your nerve, and you may end up changing your voice. That's the easy thing, or losing your voice. So they check it
Right.
constantly. So when
Scary.
I opened my left thyroid, they saw it so big that it actually kind of was all around my nerve. So it took him really
Wrapped around it.
long. Yeah, it took him really long to clean. But then the wire signal was not working. So he realized, he thought that I'm gonna wake up and lose my voice. I would not gonna be able to talk even. So he stopped. He didn't touch my left thyroid, which is exactly what I wanted. I mean, my right thyroid. I didn't want the right to be touched. So long story short, I'm waking up. They said, you're going to stay at night. I realized there is some kind of complication. And when doctor came, I realized he is very surprised. He looked at me very surprised when I answered him, because he was absolutely sure I'm not going to be able to talk, because the wire was showing that, my nerve was damaged. So I think after that, so instead of growing, I still don't take any pills. And back then, when I did my surgery, I was doing Wim Hof breathing already. So
Okay.
now I'm thinking, after that, every year when I'm checking, instead of growing that aggressively, because it was growing quite aggressively, instead of growing that aggressively, my nodules getting smaller and smaller, very slow. It doesn't happen within overnight, like it's not a magic, but slowly it's growing, not growing. It's my nodules are disappearing. So I cannot find any
On the one that's left, obviously.
on the left side. It still
Yeah.
functions
Yeah. Right.
normal. Thank God, I'm not taking any pills. But the
Right.
nodules, which they told me, it looks like a grape, with a lot of nodules. So slowly nodules are disappearing. So I can't find any other explanation than my,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
beside that, I have my knee, two damaged meniscus on my both knees, but I live without any kind of symptoms. I have 3 herniated discs on my back. Right, I do stretch every day. Well, almost every day. I try to do every day. But it's herniation. It can cause God knows what. Some people just have to have surgery.
Absolutely.
And I live without symptoms. And I'm absolutely sure it's a result of my breathing techniques and cold water. Wim
And
Hof.
yeah, the cold water for sure, like would
Yeah.
help with your
So
nerves and your back.
it does a lot of healing, even though no one wants to announce it officially. They say, oh, you feel good. It's very scientific method, but it does healing. And I'm looking forward to talk to Angelo about his case, what exactly.
Absolutely. No, I mean it's difficult for most people to understand or accept, but we're not solid. right? We're just chemical energy.
Absolutely.
And any way that you can influence your chemistry is going to have an influence on your entire chemistry. And your any way you can influence your immune system to strengthen it is going to should have a significant impact on your ability to heal. And it goes back to the reality that and this was something that I forgot to mention, but I there has been some people that I've talked to about my experience with it, how it's helped me, the benefits I've had, the reduction in my heart rate. And most of them say, "Oh, that's interesting, good for you." But they're really not interested. Sorry.
But no one does anything really.
But they're really not interested in learning more from me about how to do it. A couple of my friends are, a couple, but it goes back to the idea that the vast majority of people, for whatever reason, aren't really that interested in their health and aren't really that interested in personal growth. And it shows in how they age and the things that happen to them. Most people think there's an inevitability to getting sick and to getting crippled and to getting diseases and I don't think that's the case. Certainly there's genetic predispositions to things that can be hard to fight off. By doing Wim Hof, it does not guarantee we're going to live to be 110 with zero diseases, obviously, but the key is how long is our health span. How long are we going? If I live to 85, if I live to 85 and I'm healthy and I'm vital and I'm able to get around and enjoy my retirement, that's a lot better than
Exactly.
yeah. So for whatever reason, so many people, I don't know, they don't find it worth the effort. They don't believe in it. They
You
think
know what?
doctors.
I know the answer. I know the answer.
Okay.
First of all, just to add to what you said, it's about the quality of life. It's not about how long you live. You can live 150 years plugged with these machines and lying on the bed. That's not what
Right.
I'm interested in. I just want
No.
full quality. I want to live full life. And I know why people don't do it, because it's easier to put responsibility on somebody else's shoulder, like
Absolutely.
doctor told me this, doctor told me
Absolutely.
in this case you become aware of the fact that you can do everything, you're capable, you're unlimited, and you can do anything. So you take responsibility, as in a lot of other fields of life. Health is
Yeah.
also part of it. People will say, oh, my husband did this to me, my wife did this to me, my kids did this to. It's not about, well, who did what to you. It's about how you handle it, how you.
Sure.
Chris, we may get disconnected because of the record. Let's get connected again for another, I don't know, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So it's about the quality. So
Absolutely.
after that, being able to sit in ice bath for 3 days in a row, right? 15 minutes, unless you align yourself, unless you come out of that victim mentality, victim psychology, and become a creator. We were actually trained to that. You don't just go and get water. Of course, it's 15 minutes ice. It's not a joke. So you align yourself instead of feeling, oh my God, how I'm going to handle this, these people pushing me into this ice cold water. That's a victim mentality. You cannot handle it if you go with that mindset.
Right. Yeah.
Thinking, I'm the creator. I am the one who's choosing this. I'm aligning with this decision. I want to do this because it's not, even if I don't believe it's going to help me with something, at least in my case, I'm thinking, I want to experiment this because I like to experiment with my body. I want to know how my body responds to certain things, right? And I constantly do that. So this is amazing opportunity, being surrounded with knowledgeable people. They can guide me through this. Let me see what's happening. It's my choice. And when you're in the water, you actually, some of us were singing, some of us not. But that singing was amazing part too, because at a certain point when you sing, because it's the same, you're supposed to take a deep breath and slowly exhale. So the singing is the same way. Whatever we were singing was singing, had the same pattern. We were, you inhale and then you slowly pronounce the words, whatever you pronounce, and hey ya, ho, let's say, right? And that's the slow exhalation. That does something to your body that you forget that you're in a cold water at certain moments.
Sure.
it was very interesting. And one of the interesting things I forgot to mention when I was talking to my Russian friends, after that, we went to Denmark and the weather is very cold. The wind is undescribable. It's blowing everyone away.
I've
And
been there, yeah.
people wear coat, actually jackets, hats. It was that cold. So at night we decided that we're gonna go, especially after Wim Hof. Of course, we're not going to lose the tradition. We're gonna go to swim in the ocean, then go to sleep. Those people, locals, they're kind of, sea people. We were on the boat. And they said, "Are you really going in this cold weather? Are you crazy?" We're like, "Yeah, we're going." So what surprised me, we went, it was really cold. So when you take your clothes off, first it's uncomfortable, it feels cold. Then you're in the water. First, literally 2, 3 seconds, it felt cold. Then it was so comfortable. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So my body probably, my conscious, my subconscious, my unconscious got the message of the fact that cold water is cool and it feels really good. So it wasn't that freezing. So I was doing it without pushing myself, without having the pressure of, oh my God, let me. I was actually enjoying it. Then now,
Yeah.
even more, we got out and I'm wet, totally wet. I didn't even use towel. And this cold wind is blowing from everywhere. And I was walking on the beach. No one was there. It was cold, getting dark. Another 10 minutes, I walked on that beach and I was enjoying to undescribable level. It wasn't anything like, oh my God, that you might force myself to stay. So it was pleasant. I realized that I gave my body the signal. My body is already aware of nothing danger. I pushed my limit. In fact, every day of our retreat was pushing limits one way or another. Cold water was there constantly, ice bath. One day we went and we had to just, there was a lot of mud around the lake. So everybody had to get into that mud. In fact, I have some photos. No one had a camera because you will destroy camera in such a condition. You're all dirty. But we had some people from the coaches took some videos. So I have it soon on my YouTube channel. You can see that. Actually, you can watch the interview with Antonio too. I see you. I will send you the link. So
Sure.
you put that mud on you. He was saying it was the first time all 125 people were together. And he goes, "Are you afraid?" And everybody said, "No." He said, "Well, you should. Get
Sure.
dirty." So we started to put that mud. So it's again, it's another limitations we have. Oh, this is mud, I cannot touch it. But you actually get rid of all these boundaries that created in your mind.
Well,
That was one way of extending your limits. The other day we were climbing beautiful mountain. We're hour and a half. We were climbing. It was extremely hard. That two times I stopped. I thought I'm not gonna go anywhere because it's too hard. And what is it? It's you breathe. It's like cardiovascular exercise. Then at the end, you're on the not on the top, but quite high, and you're seeing this ice cold waterfalls coming down, and boom, cold water again. So,
yeah.
or you just walk
Wow.
barefoot. You walk barefoot on a terrain that covered with this needly um, plants. It's the dry needles, so you have to make sure you're not stepping on them because they can bleed, get to the bleeding extent. So that was also pushing limit. There was some
Sure.
guys that never live in any villages. They like town city people, and then now you're walking barefoot, not on asphalt, but on this, muddy place with needles. So um, at the beginning, first day, he announced, he said, the plan is no plan. And everybody was like, what he means, no plan? We came here to do a lot of things as much as possible. What does it mean, no plan? Then I realized that, of course, he had a plan. He had these coaches with us constantly. But what was interesting, he didn't want us to have this tension, having 1, 2, 3, 4. He just wanted us to be in relaxed condition because that's when actually the spirit opens up the most.
Yeah, it's true.
That
Yeah,
was,
no, and going on what you're saying, an interesting thing that happens when you push your limits is that you can use that experience of having pushed your limits in the past in something else to doing it again in something new. So in other words, You know, there's an expression, callousing your soul, where you get to a point where you've already accomplished things that possibly you didn't think you could do
Right.
in a specific endeavor, and you can use that energy and that accomplishment and knowing that you did that to do something new. So I one of the things that I did was I was a runner for a while, and I transitioned to barefoot running. And I guess the biggest thing I did was I was the first person to run the Death Valley Marathon barefoot. And it was challenging, but actually amazing, because very short story, but because it's a national park in Death Valley, the asphalt was like amazing. So it felt cushioning to me. Of course, everybody was looking at me like, how can you be doing this? It's, it's ridiculously dry and it's humid. But, when you do things like that, that other people think are crazy or think, but you accomplished it, you got through it, and you're a stronger person, it makes doing new things that are challenging easier,
Right.
because you have that in the back of your mind that I did that, I can do this.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a self-fulfilling thing where, like, if you keep doing it, it makes the next thing easier. And
Because it liberates you. You're free of the fear. It makes you step by step free of this fear, free of the other fear. Then it liberates you, and you end up getting rid of anxiety, because it's all a result of the fear.
I,
Fear
I
of
would
fear unknown.
I would maybe qualify that. So I've been a coach in different sports, and like when I was coaching runners, as an example, like they would come up to me about to do their first half marathon, and they would say, I'm like, it's the week before or it's 3 days before, and they're saying, I'm really nervous. And I would say to them, good, like you should be. Because what that means is that this is something that's important to you. This is something that's going to be a valuable thing to you. It's, the nerves are really just an internal indication that you're engaged, that you're ready to go, that you're ready to do something.
Absolutely.
It,
Absolutely.
it's the difference is, do you let that anxiety stop you, or do you push through it and do it? So, like, I don't know if you ever completely, or should completely let go of fear and not have it. But the more you overcome it, the easier it is to overcome it. And that's just kind of my opinion, that, like, having a certain level of anxiety is an indication that you're doing something worthwhile, that you're doing
Right.
something tough, difficult. Okay.
Chris, I still don't see you.
Okay.
Your camera, please.
Sure.
Yeah, right there. Talking about that anxiety, you use it. It depends how you use it. If you just swallow it up and don't do anything about it, that's bad. That will create a lot of health issues, mental issues. But when you actually act upon it and do something, then
Yeah,
you're
of course.
getting rid
Oh,
of it.
absolutely. That's the difference. Yeah, it's what you do with it.
This retreat for full 5 days, it was so interesting, so important that one of the guys who were he was doing coaching with us. Um, well, I mean, we had a lot of opportunity to sit and talk in the evenings and stuff. So he knew I'm doing this for quite a long time. And there was certain things that I knew, certain things he knew. So someone is calling him to New Jersey. He was from Germany. There was another beautiful part about this. It was very international team. And you listen, everybody speaks English, but you can hear the Italian accent, French accent, German accent. And all these people are doing something they love. It wasn't a job for them. It was unbelievable to see how much love everybody had towards what they were doing. So someone from New Jersey calling him to do another retreat. I don't know if it's directly related to Wim Hof method or it's some kind of different retreat, but he called me to actually do it with him. If you're interested, I can send you information. It's supposed to be in October or November. He's not
Sure.
sure yet. So I'll give you information. The guy is actually, like, officially, he's an ice boy, with Wim Hof is an ice man. And the guys who help him, who already went through training and everything, they're ice boys officially.
Ice Springs. Okay.
Most likely it's going to be something that relates to this method. And in fact, at the end of August, I'm going to Ecuador, and I'm going to do retreat over there. And there is a beautiful park over there. Again, it's not Wim Hof method. I'm not doing only Wim Hof. I'm doing a lot of other things as
Right.
I, do all those kind of practices last 7 years. But I definitely will have some of the breathing things that I learned there as well, some details. In fact, I think it will be interesting for you to know. Turns out you don't have to get to that extremes like 15 minutes ice water. If you stay only 2 minutes or more, but 2 minutes will be enough. And the temperature of the water is below 15 Celsius, then you're good. You
Mhm.
don't have to get to extremes. The effect of the cold water will be upon you as long as the temperature is below 15 Celsius and you can handle it for 2 minutes. So it's quite possible for everyone, whoever wants
Sure.
to take responsibility.
The biggest issue I find with ice baths over cold showers is it's just kind of annoying, like getting the ice and dumping it in. It's just the kind of the the the,
True,
the logistics of making it happen. A
true.
friend of mine actually bought a chest freezer and filled it with water and can get it crazy cold. And he it's an interesting idea. The hard part's cleaning it, but like he did that because he's not into Wim Hof specifically, but he's really into cold. He actually got in the Missouri River in February, and
Mhm.
it was like nuts. I mean, it was like 18 degrees out, and like there were ice sheets. I mean, and he stayed in there for like 90 seconds. So he's really into the cold. But what I'd like to do, and I haven't talked with, I have some different people I know that kind of do bathrooms and do construction. About, I know there are faucets where you can adjust the temperature of the water coming out of the shower to whatever you want, from cold to hot.
Oh,
And I'm not exactly certain how they do that. Obviously, we have water heaters, but I don't know about water coldners, right? So, but if I could get something like that installed, that would be for me ideal.
oh,
Like, so
that's
I could have
a good
really cold
idea.
showers like year round.
I didn't know you
Sorry.
can have stuff like that. I would love to. That's a good
Yeah,
idea. I didn't know. Good.
yeah. Somehow, like I said, I don't know how they make the water colder, but there is a way of doing it. It's probably not cheap, but for me, it would just be much more convenient than buying big bags of ice and dumping it in
Yeah, it's a lot of
yeah.
work. That's
So
not convenient at all. One more thing, before I forget to tell you, if you're into that and you will do more and more, that was a new thing. I never thought about it, and it was very interesting to learn. If you are really in cold for quite a long time, and all of the sudden, let's say that 15 minutes ice bath, when you come out and you just feel like, oh, let me get to the warm water, so I will get my heat back. Never do that because it's dangerous because your body goes through shock. Now when you're coming out in that, it's in that mode, and your body doing everything to overcome that shock, and all the sleeping mechanism of your immune system and everything else opening up. And I feel, I don't know, no one told me that scientifically, but the way I feel, because of all these mechanisms are waking up because of the shock forcing them, that's what probably caused healing, I'm assuming. So long
yeah,
story short, you're in this shock, your body is dealing with that shock, it's learning how to overcome that. And then all of a sudden, when you're in a warm water again, you give a signal that everything is fine, the dangerous is gone, which is not true, because in reality you were in ice for 15 minutes. Then it's another shock for your body, and it can cause heart attack, you can die, you can have tons of different problems.
yeah,
So
makes sense.
it's prohibited to get into, even wearing warm clothing, prohibited. There is certain kind of motions, movements that you're supposed to do until you feel that heat that you had saved in your body, in your core, gets from the center to uh, your hands and your, because
That
that's
makes sense.
yes. So the motions, only the motion, but focused, controlled motions, supposed to bring you back to normal condition. not hot water, not warm clothing. You can't wear anything warm even, it's prohibited. So that was good to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So
any
is this,
questions you have?
yes, good time for question. Okay, sure. So let's see. Let's see. You talked with me in May, and you brought it up a little bit in this in our conversation today about during the recovery breath, during the method, how you should try to push into your pineal gland as much as you can. Can you, to make it more effective, to make it more powerful, can you express for myself and for those that are listening, both how kind of how you do that? What's the, when you're thinking about it, when you're doing the recovery breath, what is the, what should you be attempting to do? What's your intention to
Okay,
help?
okay,
Yeah.
got it. So you actually do it. You don't need to think anything. Where to push exactly that spot? If you roll your eyes, if you roll over your eyes, you will still feel some uncomfortable zone inside of your head. There's like, it's not painful, but you can feel that spot when you roll your eyes.
The third eye.
No, no, roll your
No.
eyes. When you roll your eyes as high as you can,
Uh-huh.
somewhere inside of your head, you're supposed to feel a spot.
Okay. Going
That's
right
the
up.
spot where you have your pineal gland. That's the
Okay.
spot where your pineal gland is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, right. No, no, I know where it's at.
so
Yeah.
basically what you do, you take deep breath, and then instead of exhaling, you pretend that you exhale, but you're not really letting the air go. You're pushing that air into that area. Or if it's hard to find that area, you just push into your eyes. You,
Okay.
you make that pressure to your eyes. If you put that pressure into your eyes, you're actually pushing pressure on your pineal gland. And pineal gland
Great.
is kind of antenna that connects us with three-dimensional materialistic world with
Yeah.
energy.
DMT
Right,
releases the DMT.
right.
Yeah.
And in fact, he showed, he said, don't overdo it. It's very dangerous. But it was a very nice surprise. There was a breathing exercise. I'm not going to tell you the details because I don't want to take responsibility for consequences. But there was a breathing exercise, breathing with pushing to your pineal gland, but was certain element he added. It knocks you out. You just all of a sudden you leave your body, you go different places, but very short. It takes less than a minute. Then you come back again. It's unbelievable. And we all did it together. So, like, let's say you're in a couple, second person protects you because you're standing
Yeah.
up, you're like in a standing position, and because you get weak, you can fall down. So someone has to hold you in case if you just
Yeah. Yeah.
weak, you go down. But pineal gland is that important. What I'm saying that pushing into
Oh yeah.
gland just to take you away, you fly away.
Maybe we'll discuss it offline.
Okay.
Because I'm definitely interested. Yeah. But okay, that helps. It's a good answer. Um, the next question is, what did you find was the most challenging event at the workshop, and what did you find was the most rewarding?
Well, most rewarding, definitely being capable to be in ice 3 days in a row for 15 minutes and without feeling uh, overcoming the fear and being a creator, not a victim. And last, I remember even first time when I was able to make it 15 minutes, I even had energy to just even wet my head before I came out from the ice bath.
It's fantastic.
That was amazing feeling, like I'm strong, I don't have limits, I can do anything I put in my mind. That was the most rewarding thing. And then again, that proof of being in Denmark and walking naked wet body on that wind, but people were scared to think of, but I was getting pleasure out of it. So
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's a great
yeah,
feeling. Yeah.
it gave me this thing that, you know, our body is so smart, it knows what to do. We just have to let the body, we don't, because what we do, we constantly put our body into comfort zone. And by doing that, we're kind of shutting down all the mechanisms that our body has to actually perform unbelievable things. So I
Agreed.
trust my body more now.
There's no question about that. Okay, cool. Good. That's a good answer. And the next one was, what has been what has been the most intense experience that you've had while performing the method? Like just in your daily performance, have you had, you know, normally from both of us as my guests, that you feel good, you relax, you count down. But have you ever had any experiences doing it over the 7 years that were pretty intense and really had an impact on you?
That's the story that I told you that happens unfortunately only once to that extent. But it was intense, but it was pleasant instead. It didn't scare me. It actually charged me when you're lying there and you're feeling this sensation like someone plugged you into source of energy, literally your body getting charged, but the charge is not going equally to every part of your body, but it's wiggling, like your hand wiggling one way. I don't know in reality if I was wiggling, but I had this
Right.
feeling that I'm actually shaking. So my head would move this way, my leg would move another way. So I'm kind of wiggling like jello. But then at certain point, all these motions became one big vibration, went to unison, and it was extremely pleasant and like I was sensing it. And then it was so big that my body couldn't handle that energy anymore. The
Yeah.
energy started to lift. That was the most um what you said,
Intense. Yeah,
intense
yeah,
that I
like,
experienced. And I
yeah,
wanted it back. It never came back. It comes in different ways. And I
yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
being knocked out from my body experiences and with breathing. I kind of
yeah.
like
That's pretty intense.
experiences. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get it. Yeah, yeah. What are a couple of things you learned at the workshop that you will take with you into your daily practice? Not, in other words, not necessarily that you're capable of more than you thought, that you can overcome. There's less anxiety, but were there any things that you learned that you will incorporate into the method that you do on a daily basis?
You know what? Nothing much more because I'm quite open to like doing extreme things since I was a kid, and I'm always getting into places where other people would be scared. So considering that, I didn't learn much new things, but what happened, it reminded me that everything that I was doing and people will look at me like crazy, I have to just keep doing it without even paying attention what other people think. Let's
Sure.
say I'm not a kid anymore, but I love being barefoot and I like being in the mud. I just enjoy walking wherever. Yes, I would not like to step on a needle, but in general, if I'm in nature, let's say, I don't need a yoga mattress to do my stretch. Let's say. I would do on a grass. And once I had to pay for it, some insect, I got bitten by some insect and I had allergy. My lip was like swelling. But I feel like that's my strength. I'm not gonna even try to make it more convenient for me because that's my way of being unlimited, reminding myself that,
Of truly living. Yeah, I understand.
right.
That's great. Next question is, what was your impression of Whim in person?
Oh my God, it was way more than I thought. Look, when I was going there, I thought I'm gonna see him, reading a lecture, saying something from far away. Maybe I will be lucky to have a picture with him. Phew, it was way more than I was expecting. First few days, yes, he would come, answer the questions, say what. But then when we started to do the ice bath, he's there playing drums. Check the video; it will be on a YouTube soon, playing drums and singing. I didn't know he's singing. He has huge voice on the mountain. He would stay on that mountain. He got there first, of course. He stayed in that mountain. He was actually singing so loud that you can hear him for miles. And he would hug everyone who comes, welcome, and let go to the waterfall. So this person is so has so much love in him, so much passion in him. He would hug everyone, talk to everyone, take a picture with everyone. You just feel human to human connection. And you feel how he's like a grown child. He's a child. And he 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 actually didn't even care about saving his energy somehow. If you want to talk to him, he will just talk to him nonstop, and he gets very excited. So these ice boys actually would come and say, Whim, Whim, pull him away, because
Yeah,
you cannot constantly give energy. You have to be
that's
considerate of
funny.
energy too. He doesn't
That's really
care, but unbelievable human, unbelievable. And he's now is obsessed with this new idea. He wants to do a so-called love and power festivals or all over the world. And it's going to be eye-opening. He wants the people to open their eyes and see that it's all about love, and the power is in the love. And as long as we love and we're in the field of energy, we're with the spirit, we're fine. So that's his
nice.
idea now. He wants to get there. In fact, I had a chance to, sit close to him. He was talking to someone saying about paradise is coming. And I'm like, really? So paradise is coming? He said, yes. And I said, so how come? He said, well, he said, old paradigm, sorry. He said, old paradigm is gone and paradise is coming. And I said, so what brought that? He said, it's you, it's me, it's everyone who believes in love and who can see the truth. That's what brings the paradise. And we have to
Sure.
make sure everybody is aware of it. So that's his mission now at this point. Unbelievable
Nice.
guy. I
Yeah,
love him.
that's great. He sounds like it. Um, for those that haven't tried the method, what did you find was the most challenging in the beginning? And what advice would you have for beginners? The first part. And then what's one piece of advice? Oh, one piece of advice I learned early on was releasing your breath halfway before beginning the breath hold was much easier, and allowed me to hold my breath longer than completely exhaling. So that's one little piece of advice I have for beginners. But what, like, when you were starting, what's something that you maybe wish you knew now, wish you knew then that you know now, that perhaps would have, helped your practice and made things a little easier?
For me, in particular, for people in general, I would say the biggest challenge is that facing that unknown, because that breathing takes you somewhere where you've never been before. You start sensing deep, kind of strange vibrations in your body, and it scares people. From my experience, when I work with the clients, that's number one thing that make people concerned, because they feel strange vibrations in their body, and that stops them. And you're trying to explain that that's a good news because something is
Yeah,
changing in your body that has to make you happy, but the fear stops people. So I would suggest to not fear. There is different intensity of of breathing. If it's scary, we can start with something not as intense, and slowly get to intense. But that fear stops most of the time. There's nothing to fear about, because nobody died from breathing. People die when they don't breathe. So it's
very true.
simple as that. It's as simple as that. In my case, because I tend to experiment a lot, my issue was I actually was doing another extreme. I was exhaling fully. I guess we spoke about it. I was exhaling when 30 times I was doing half. Perfect. Like two atmospheres in, one atmosphere out. So that was I do during 30 breath. But then when I had to hold my breath, I would just exhale fully, so much that there is no even drop of oxygen. And then somehow I was able to hold my breath way longer than I do halfway. And I was thinking something is weird about it. This is not right. Something is off. I need to find out. And then I asked that question, and our coach was surprised. He goes, "Really? You can hold your breath like more than 5 minutes when you're fully exhaling?" I'm like, "Yes, but when I exhale half, then I cannot take my breath for that long, hold my breath." And then he went, probably they had some discussion. Next day, he said, "Thank you so much for asking this question, because I never thought about it. Turns out when you exhale fully, completely, you shut down that reflex part of your body to respond on absence of oxygen. So basically, when your lungs without oxygen, that button that works for, that responsible for inhaling again because you don't have oxygen, off. Somehow I shut it down when I exhale fully. And my body response is on absence of oxygen in my blood only. And that's very dangerous level when your blood is already low on oxygen and that's when you want to breathe. That's not a good news. So of course I stopped doing that silly thing. I exhale only half, never fully when I tend to hold my breath. So no
And
one,
are you able, have you gotten to the point now where you're able to hold it as long as you did when you exhaled fully?
no, I don't get to 5 minutes anymore. But
Okay.
I wasn't getting to 5 minutes because I was because that button was kind of shut down. My body was not responding. That's not a good news. But I was having that urge to breathe only when level of oxygen in my blood was going down, and it's already late. That's not a good thing to do.
Well,
No,
actually, the buildup of carbon dioxide is what
right.
kind of,
So
yeah,
no, not 5 minutes. I do three and a half at this point. But
sure,
back then I
okay.
was doing more than five.
It works. Yeah, that level works. Yeah, it's really, that is interesting. Yeah, but it goes back to the idea that, and I've found this in everything, and it's in any different type of training that I've done. If I read something, if some quote unquote expert says this is the way you do it, and I try it, and it just doesn't work for me, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good. I don't do it, and I'll make a little adjustment that works for me, and
Exactly.
I go forwards. So it's like there is, as much as there is to learn from Whim, as much as there is to learn from so many different quote unquote experts, it still, we're individuals, and still, like, we have, for whatever reason, some differences where something, a little tweak to what they're telling us is better for us. So it's an interesting thing, and you tried it, and yeah, it's fascinating.
And they were
So
quite open. They were saying, listen to your body all the time. And there is no certain way of being right or wrong. You can constantly improvise and check reaction of your body. That's the right way of doing things.
that is key. Yeah, makes sense. So did you learn anything at the workshop about that there being a next level, or in other words, like an advanced technique beyond the basic Wim Hof method for advanced practitioners?
Not really, but that trick that I'm telling you, that you breathe and somehow you just find
You,
yourself.
you take you take off
That
on a
was
DMT
level.
trip.
Right. So that was
Yeah,
different level. But basically, you just do it every day. He was saying, as long as you do it every day, you are digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Even the sensation of your body, if you don't really see that strange vibration, doesn't mean that nothing happens. Because your body
yeah, sure.
gets used to that vibration as well. It's not feeling as something extraordinary happens anymore, but it happens. You are actually
Yeah, right.
vibration. Yes.
One thing that I found, just like using the pulse oximeter in the beginning, in the first couple months, was, the first minute, your oxygen's actually really super high. It actually gets a little higher than during the breathing. But then it tapers down, it tapers down. In the first few months, it could go as low as like 60%,
Right.
which many medical professionals would say like is dangerous. It's not that good. But of course, what you're doing is you're building up more mitochondria that can help. I mean, there's a value to doing that. But what I've found as I've gotten stronger, as I've done it more months, is that it doesn't really get below like 80 anymore. So it's an indication of the strength of my cardiovascular system that I've built up, and the extra oxygen producing, like mitochondria in my cells. It's a really interesting thing that there are, for me, it's just the data is just kind of interesting beyond just the way I feel better.
Good.
And it's a way of showing you're healthier. So yeah, no, I didn't necessarily think there was like a Wim Hof method too, but I was just curious if they're writing up. Um, there's one more question. So a really general kind of question, how has the method impacted your life positively?
I'm going to show you something. Well, that vibe is still with me. It's almost a month I'm back. Well, not fully, but almost. It was another huge reminder. And if you see someone like that, you understand it's possible just to be. I actually asked him, I said, "You're so hyper all the time. You're constantly in a high spirit. Don't you ever feel down?" And he said, "Of course I do. When I'm down, I'm very down. But then I see the light and then I'm back to my normal condition again." So that's good to see that such an extraordinary person also goes through certain things.
Right.
And he's honest enough to say that because he can play Superman, right? He said, "I'm a regular person with all those things." Starting with, he started to actually explore those things because of the depression he was going through. But still, you're seeing, you know, nothing is impossible. It's another proof that nothing is impossible. And the biggest thing for me, when I do it every day, it doesn't matter in what kind of mood I wake up. I do the breathing, and then the day is positive. I'm full of energy.
Yeah.
What more valuable I can ask for? And no matter
Yeah.
what, you see the positive side of the thing. Sometimes you feel down, yes, you do, but then it pulls you back to normal again, to the light.
Completely agree. It's also one of the most valuable aspects of doing it for myself and keeps me doing it. I found that we actually already talked about that one. The final question: how would you compare the? What did I write? How would you compare the impact of the workshop to the the other different types of workshops that you've attended over the years?
This was more hands-on, which I like. Even though I like when I went to Joe Dispenza, there was a lot of information, cognitive information to digest. Extremely interesting. He was, telling you information, and then he asks you to talk to person next to you about it to make sure that you got it correctly, which is very pleasant. I was taking notes. I still kind of try to put those things all together. It's very pleasant. But it's more interesting for me, for my type. I like hands-on moments. Like you do it. Here it was, let's do it. Let's do it. There wasn't that much talking. So here was you're doing it, boom, you're seeing reaction of your body. Then you're kind of learning that, oh my God, my body has so much potential in it, so much unknown in it that I never even guessed. So that's a kind of exciting feeling, exciting thoughts to have that my body can do things that I never even could guess. So that was hands-on. Hands-on moment was the best. Extending, pushing your limits. That was my exciting moment for this workshop.
Well, those are the questions that I have. I've found this to be a great conversation. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have. And
Me too.
unless unless there's anything else, I think we might be able to conclude.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very interesting to hear your own kind of the observations of your body's reactions on what you do. And everybody's different. Everybody's different. There was a question someone asked. He was scientific worker, so he was like, "Do you have any list of, things that may happen to people after this ice cold bath after 15 minutes?" And the answer was no, because everybody's responding differently. That's why there is no list of what to expect. Everybody has different reaction, and that's the beauty. And that's the beauty of us being open and taking a role of creator instead of being in the role of victim, and
Yeah,
just being followers and just following what people tell us to do. We're choosing what to do. I like that.
I like that too.
Thank you, Chris. It was very
Thank
interesting
you.
for your time.
It was a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye bye.
Bye.